morning. This is today. It's a Monday, October the 4th, and welcome to Epcot Center, where the future is now. And even the Today Show theme has been updated by Michael Iceberg and his iceberg machine. Epcot Center. The letters stand for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. And good morning and welcome to the Today program. I'm Bryant Gumbel. In this very special edition of Today, we're going to come to you live from the Fantasy Center of Central Florida. We're about 20 miles southwest of Orlando, here at Epcot, the newest addition to Disney World. What is Epcot? Conceived by Walt Disney in 1966, it is a showcase for tomorrow. And for the next 2 hours, we're going to show you what it's all about. With me here beside the lagoon at San Marcos Square in Venice is Jane Pauley. Good morning to you.
And good morning. And the place we are at is Epcot, but I rather like your son's word, apricot.
Apricot, yeah. He hasn't quite gotten the hang of it. And down the promenade a ways, somewhere around Germany or China, we are told, is Willard Scott. Good morning, Willard.
Hey, the big apricot and the big plum. And the sun is rising in the east over the China Center, and we'll be back with those goodies and weather in a few minutes.
And then we'll be coming back here in our 8 o'clock hour to get some expert appraisal. Is this really future world, or is it a grown-up fantasy land?
We'll find out.
Time now to go back to Florida and Bryant Gumbel.
All right, John, thank you very much. In just a moment, we'll be going out to the nation's capital, where our Chief Washington correspondent, Judy Woodruff, will be talking to the Deputy FDA Commissioner about that Tylenol investigation. But first, at 7:08, let's get a weather check and check in on Willard Scott, who I understand is across the lagoon at China.
You got it, Brian. I just knocked off a 90-foot egg roll. This is the China Pavilion. As you see, the sun is coming up. It's a beautiful sky. It's going to be a gorgeous day here in Central Florida. Come see us. And we have some weather for you, in case you care. A birthday from Disney World. Laura Foster. She's in Great Falls, Montana. 101 years old today. Happy birthday. Maybe you'll get on the Johnny Carson show someday.
We're going to begin our look at Epcot in just a moment. When we come back, we'll take a look at what many are calling Epcot's most important pavilion, as we take a look at the Garden of Earth that we are intended to grow on. But first, as we disappear and say this is Today on NBC, a look at Epcot from high above, courtesy of the good ship blimp America. We'll be back. Back, quarter past the hour. We're at Epcot Center, and we're about to visit our first Epcot Center pavilion of the morning. You know, many people are finding it the most intriguing because it really does present us with possibilities for the future. This pavilion tackles the problem of food for the future. Its corporate sponsor is Kraft, and its name is very direct: the Land. The Land is the largest of all the Epcot pavilions, 6 acres, and it has the distinctive Disney trademarks. Automated figures. Here they have names like Bonnie Appetite and the Cereal Sisters, and they sing songs appropriately enough of nutrition in the Kitchen Cabaret. There's a spectacular widescreen film on the ways man has put his mark on the land. And there's a boat tour through nostalgically recreated scenes of the American past. But it's in the move from mock-up to reality that this pavilion achieves its special distinction. Designed by the Environmental Research Laboratory at the University of Arizona, the exhibit becomes one of real plants in real soil, producing real crops. Truly a look at the possible new technology of agriculture. Plants climb over A-frames to expand the growing area of a given plot. Such ground huggers as cucumbers become hothouse climbers. Tall plants, such as corn, shelter other vegetables intercropped at their base, wasting hardly an inch of space. A hardy new grain called triticale, crossing wheat and rye, grows in sand, irrigated underground to reduce evaporation. Some foods grow with no soil at all. Lettuce on panels of styrofoam. Tomatoes that dangle from a trolley, their roots periodically entering an enclosed chamber where they're sprayed with nutrients. Excess nutrients drip into beds of water hyacinths, which can be processed into methane gas for fuel. This green area is potentially an oil field, the desert-grown gopher plant whose toxic sap can be converted into oil at a yield of 10 to 20 barrels an acre. And there's a proposed solution to growing food aboard space vehicles, a revolving lighted drum that recreates the gravity of Earth so that the plants of Earth can take root on extraterrestrial farms of the future. The horticulturist who oversaw the experimental farm in the Land Pavilion is Dr. Merle Jensen of the Environmental Research Laboratory at the University of Arizona. Good morning and welcome, Doctor. In setting out the Land Pavilion, what did you want to show? What did you set out to show?
Well, we wanted to show the major agricultural systems of today, but also show some of the alternatives in the future that will feed the extra 2 billion people that we will have on the spaceship Earth in the next 18 years.
Were you in the business then of problem solving or just suggesting various alternatives?
Well, we're basically suggesting alternatives that might be used in the future to feed people.
How did it come to pass that researchers from Environmental Labs, University of Arizona, had joined hands with Disney? Who sought out whom in this project?
Well, Disney came to us. We have done some very unique systems in agriculture in the Middle East, for example, in controlled environment agriculture, but also in aquaculture as well.
Well, we have another tape of another experiment in the pavilion to look at. It's probably the least impressive part of your exhibit, yet you and Carl Hodges, University of Arizona, both call it the most important work you're doing, and that is adapting food crops to grow in the salt water. Can you explain this piece of tape for us?
Yeah, these plants are called halophytes. They are actually irrigated with seawater. Much of the agriculture of the future will actually go to the barren desert. We have roughly 22,000 miles of desert coastline in the world, and if we can plant these desert coastlines, which are now barren, we can probably feed another 1 billion people. This is an exciting project. Again, plants that are growing on pure seawater.
As we talk practical applications for the future, and as one goes through the Land Pavilion, is he looking at something that is a distant dream or something that is possible within our lifetime?
Oh, we think that a lot of this will be possible.
I'm talking about wholesale application, not under ideal conditions as exist here.
Oh, no. Much of what we're showing in the Land Pavilion are actually what occurs outside today.
You have, what, 23 horticulturists working in the Land Pavilion. Is it a full-time maintenance project?
It's a full-time maintenance project, yes.
And I know you've brought a little bit of your work for us.
Yes, this is a tomato that's actually grown hydroponically. It's as nutritious as any other tomato growing in the soil. Hydroponics, of course, is growing crops in water. We have the fertilizer elements added, but it's one way to grow crops out of season under controlled environments.
And inside you have the oversized squash, I guess I could call them, but you have oversized crops throughout there.
Yeah,
is that also because of ideal conditions?
Yes, that's right, but also it's an example of what people can do at home in the garden. For example, we have the squash growing on a clothesline, but underneath we have a Malabar spinach, which we call companion cropping, trying to produce as much food as possible per square foot of land.
Dr. Merle Jensen, again, thank you very much. The Land Pavilion is indeed fascinating. It's also the largest one here, right? Covers 6 acres?
That's right.
It's a biggie. We'll be back in just a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
We're in the midst of the World Showcase, where well-known scenes and cultural samplings from 9 countries are carefully reproduced for visitors here. And throughout the morning's program, we'll be looking at some of them. Right now, the SAC Theater presents its version of Italy's improvisational street theater.
Welcome to Italy. Wait a minute. What's Italy doing in Florida?
See, look, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Where is... Oh, look, she fell down.
If this is Italy, how come it's so small? It shrank into salt water on the way over.
Hey, this is Italy? Where's the Sicily?
Oh, we didn't bring a Sicily. She was sick.
Oh.
Not Today Show.
We'll be back after
This station break.
Ah, that's a nice.
Thing that Disney theme parks do perhaps better than any other, and that is sell. We're also going to examine the chief ingredient in Disney's success to date, and that is imagination. Jane?
Well, one thing is certain, the future will come. The question, however, is will we have the energy to get there? We're going to get in this half hour an expert critique of Disney's vision of the future of energy.
Back to Brian.
All right, John, thank you very much. We're sitting here along World Showcase at the Epcot Center, and Willard Scott is making his way around. He started in China. We'll figure out where he is when we come back for his weather report. And then a marketing expert evaluates for us the Disney technique and where it's going. But first, we'll take time at 7:34 for these messages. Righty, let's continue our tour around World Showcase here and check in with Willard Scott, who has the weather and who I believe is taking a visit to Germany. Am I correct, Willard?
You're absolutely right. You're never wrong, Mr. Bryant, and you see it over there just across the waters, Germany. And you'll find out why we're at Germany, and you'll hear why in just a few minutes, so don't go away. Meanwhile, we want to acknowledge and thank very much from NBC and the Today Show, the beautiful Goodyear blimp. You see it up there now. Marvelous morning for the blimp, the America, captained by Tim Townley-Wren. How do you do, sir? Good to have you with us, sir. Good show, good show. There it is, the Goodyear blimp, and these beautiful shots for the Today Show provided by our gorgeous, gorgeous Goodyear blimp. Oh. Ah, they're calling me. This is the Alpenhorn, and this is Franz Trumpet. Franz is from Germany, actually from the German palace across the water. But Franz, you're from where?
From Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New York. May I have a shot at this once? I've always wanted. Here you go, Brian, back to you. And the sun sinks slowly in the east, and our ratings hopefully rise in the west. Back to you, big guy.
All right, Willard, we always knew you were full of air, but that guy's got some set of pipes. Hey, look, Disney dream merchants peddle fantasy better than anyone. That's no secret. So well, in fact, we sometimes forget that Disney means business and that Disney's theme parks mean big business. The Magic Kingdom here at Walt Disney World is a well-tuned money-making machine. Unlike many other businesses, Disney can control the entire environment. The walk down Main Street puts you in a perfect world. The streets, they're immaculate. The buildings, they're inviting. All these are Disney trademarks that work together to put you in the mood to spend some money. And don't ever mistake it, the guy behind the cash register is cheerful and he is pleasant. In fact, everyone in Walt Disney World works hard to keep a smile on your face because, in part, it keeps a smile on theirs. Robert Glauber teaches Harvard Graduate School of Business, and he has studied how Disney translate the entertainment experience into a business. And as I say welcome, I ask you, why has Disney gone to the future? Why Epcot when the theme parks in Anaheim and here at Walt Disney World have worked so well?
Well, I think the answer is that as you look around here, Disney has 27,000 acres of land. And they got to do something with some of that land. The Magic Kingdom only fills up about 1,000 acres. And you've got 13 million people that come each year to the Magic Kingdom. And what the company would like to do is find something for them to do after they've been to the Magic Kingdom.
Aren't they really going to cancel out each other? I mean, how much override is there going to be?
I think there'll be some override, but I don't think they'll cancel out each other completely. The best guess is that they'll probably get about 8 million people more here than they would have gotten without it.
Let's talk about how well Disney markets its product, which is, as I noted, very well. We just saw a tape of Disney's marketing techniques in the Magic Kingdom. What kind of operating techniques are they going to have here at Epcot?
Well, let me give you an example. People come to the future world over there for the purpose of seeing new technologies in action. We did it yesterday, my wife and I. We went to the information center.
Before we start, let me explain that Epcot Center is divided into 2 areas. Future World.
Hello, my name is Evelyn. May I help you?
Hi. Yes, you can, please. I'd like to make a reservation for lunch if I can.
Okay, sir. I'd like to suggest a good turn.
So you were able to make the reservation at the restaurant through the machine?
Absolutely. So look what Disney does. First of all, it informs you. It tells you all about Epcot. Next, what it does is it lets Bell Telephone show you some of their new technology. And finally, what it does is it lets me make a reservation at a Disney restaurant where they can make some money on selling me some lunch.
Okay, they do it well. They had a lot of cash. They sunk $600 million of their own dollars into here. Other companies have an excess of cash, a surplus of cash. They choose to diversify. Why not Disney?
Well, Disney really has diversified to some degree. You know, they started out in films, and they went from films to these Magic Kingdoms. And I think the reason they diversified that much was that even though the films are very, very profitable, they've got some problems. Films make a lot of money. The good ones last forever. Snow White was issued in 1937, and it turns out 500 million people.
So that's a terrific asset. How profitable do you expect this park can be?
I think this park will make money. It'll certainly make a lot of people very happy. Whether it will make enough money to get back the $1 billion that they spent here is another question.
Final note, what we are sitting on, Epcot, represents the last terrific idea that they still have of Walt Disney's. What does that suggest about the future of Disney?
From here they're on their own, and that really may be the good news.
Is that a plus or a minus?
I think it's probably a plus.
Why?
Because I think Walt sketched these things out, but Walt had a dream, and it isn't clear that his dream was going to be great business. From now on, they're on their own, and they've got to come up with really good business ideas that will make a lot of money for their shareholders, as well as make their customers happy.
Projection this year, about $3.15 a share. Last year, $3.09. Not terrific, but it's better than a loss. Thank you, Robert Glover.
Thanks.
Each World Showcase country is alive with festive music, so as we disappear for a moment, let's listen to some robust, festive mariachi band music from Mexico.
Today's show will be back after these messages.
Disney World has a stake in the future of energy because 70% of the people who come here by car. But the Energy Pavilion covers a lot more than gasoline, even though it was sponsored by Exxon. The energy exhibit actually begins outside the pavilion, on the roof. There are 80,000 solar cells up there, producing enough electricity on a sunny day to run 15 average American homes. The solar electricity is used here to help run the moving seats that transport visitors. The elaborate diorama invokes the primeval age and the beginnings of fossil fuels. And in a nearby building, there are hands-on exhibits that provide entertaining ways of asking your own questions and getting Exxon's answers about all sorts of energy-related issues.
The best way to save energy in heating water is to lower the...
And yesterday, I toured the exhibit with Dr. Daniel Yergin, Harvard energy lecturer and author of Global Insecurity, a Strategy for Energy and Economic Renewal. Your overall impression of Epcot?
That it's fun, it's entertaining, but I think what's also quite striking is how down-to-earth the exhibits are. It's not really so much just about tomorrow, but really about the problems of today, whether it be in transportation, whether it be in the future of land, or, of course, in terms of energy.
Were you suspicious that Exxon is the sponsor?
Well, I figured that it being Exxon, what they would have to do is lean over backwards to be as even-handed as they can, because they would expect a lot of people to be suspicious. And so I thought it would be a balanced presentation.
And is that what you found?
I did find it pretty balanced. It is informative. They touch all the bases. They see that there is really, of course, the uncertainty that exists about future energy supplies. Right now we have these Pollyannas and these comedy writers running around telling us there's no energy problem.
There is an oil glut, in fact.
Well, there's an oil glut because we have 10% unemployment in the worst recession since the Great Depression. But when we come out again, we're likely to face these problems about energy supply again. And I think that they established that there are a lot of different ways we have to move. They told us yesterday, of course, that they had finished designing it 6 months ago, and I did see one place where it seemed to me a little outdated, and that is they put a lot of emphasis on synthetic fuels, shale oil, but right now at least the notion of a big shale oil program in this country is pretty much dead in the water.
Well, when you left the exhibit, did you leave fearful of the future or optimistic about it?
Well, I left with a feeling that there are a lot of things that we can do, that there is a lot of uncertainty, but that if we move down a lot of different paths at once, we can manage this problem.
Do you think the audience was educated at all?
Well, it's interesting we went into the database area where you could play with the computers and answer questions, and it was interesting to see that the bulk of the public came away thinking that major energy sources in the year 2000 would be either solar or would be nuclear, and I think that suggests that they need some more education or more information. I should say that, well, I thought the exhibit area itself was very good. The main universe of energy, the so-called hands-on area where they had the database, where they had the more detailed information, that does need a lot of work. It needs to be both more entertaining and more informative, more focused.
But what did you think about the dinosaurs? And what the dinosaurs have to do with the Energy Pavilion anyway?
Well, they're taking us back to the old days when organic material from dinosaurs eventually became oil. I thought the dinosaurs were a lot of fun and very imaginative, but they had one problem, which I think, although we're adults, we did want to be scared, and some of those dinosaurs reminded me more than anything else of good old E.T., and I definitely thought we needed to be more scared.
Well, I think they took the tack that you can maybe scare them with the dinosaurs a little bit, but certainly not with the bad news.
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel Jurgen. And we'll be back after a station break.
As we talk about tomorrow, here's a bulletin for you. There is no imagination crisis in this country, especially here at Disney World. We've gathered a panel of imagination experts just to prove it.
I think most of the things around here, people had to have good ideas to do it, and they had to be very creative and imaginative. Some people don't even put their mind to imagination. I think if you really wanted to, you could have an imagination like this.
Doing something imaginative is doing something that's very different. It's very fun making different things that just pop into your mind. Like when I'm dreaming or something, I dream of great things. Usually later on I'll draw something that I dreamed of.
I like to draw a lot, and because you just get to sort of like express your feelings on paper. You just feel good inside after you've drawn things. Colors mean a lot of things. I think colors are pretty, and what would you have without colors? I mean, everything would be black or white. Creativity, I think, can be small ideas or big ideas, but it depends on what you think it should be. Without imagination, I don't think the world could have much fun because you would have to get all your ideas from someone else or something that's very real. Everybody's lucky that they have imagination, and I think you should put good use to it. You shouldn't just let it die with you.
Imagination, it's a good word, especially when it's spelled with a capital I. And here's Disney's newest authority on imagination from the Imagination Pavilion here at Epcot. He is Dreamfinder.
Hello there, Brian. Good to have you here at Epcot.
And who is Dreamfinder?
Well, I'm kind of the host of the Journey into Imagination show out here at Epcot Center. I travel all over the universe collecting the stuff dreams are made of. Sounds, colors, ideas, anything that sparks the imagination. And I store these sparks in the Journey into Imagination Pavilion. And the guests and I recombine them into new ideas and new inspirations.
I am left to assume that you do not dream alone. Who's your little purple friend?
This is actually something I dreamed of. This is my figment, and I'm very proud of him. You see, I threw together the two tiny wings, the nose of a crocodile, the horns of a dilemma, and all the calm and reserve of a small child's birthday party. And so he, with his curious and naive way of looking at life, shows me things that I would never have guessed in my own knowledge and experience.
If you are the spirit of imagination, then the gentleman to your left certainly might be called the father of imagination. He is one of Disney's Imagineers, and he helped come up with the idea for Dreamfinder and Figment. His name, Barry Braverman. We welcome you. Imagineer, I had the feeling I just invented a new word. Is that a profession? Is that a personal statement?
Well, it's a term we use at WED to describe what we do. We think it's a kind of a unique blend of art and engineering, so we've coined that phrase.
Imagination is a very difficult thing to characterize. It's difficult to capture and picture. What is it you set out to do?
Well, what we've tried to do, as the Dreamfinder indicated, is give a very simple kind of a scheme for how the imaginative process works in this pavilion. And what we've done is boiled it down to 3 steps: gathering, storing, and then recombining into new things. And we wanted to say to people that imagination is something we all share. It's a common ability that we all have, and all we need to do is look at the world in an open and risk-taking way, and we can begin this process.
There is room for imagination in your future vision of the world, but it's imagination of a different sort, right?
Well, we are trying to show kind of the arts and the softer side of the imagination idea here in this pavilion. Energy and transportation and communication stories are being told well in other parts of the project, and our goal was to kind of remind people that without the arts, without somebody willing to take a risk and have a new idea, you really don't have much of a future at all.
You actually do blend imagination and technology, such as we're seeing here, where people, by dancing on various color patterns, can create music?
Yeah, this is part of an area we call the Image Works, and it's a hands-on area where people get a chance to try out new technologies for creativity. And so we see them dancing along stepping tones, manipulating these enormous kaleidoscopes that are just like the ones you used as a child, but much larger. And this is a videographic system that we created for the Image Works called Magic Palette. It allows the guests to load up their brush with different electronic inks and paint right on a CRT screen.
Let me ask you, by using the technology, are you not in fact taking away some of the creativity? I mean, doesn't one have to start from point zero to be totally creative?
Well, that's really not the position we're taking. We think that these new tools just simply enhance the palette of things that you can work on. We always tell the story about the invention of the piano. Probably at some point someone thought that was a very threatening machine and would end creativity, but in fact it's made things more creative. And we feel the same way about computers and sensing devices and so on.
And what of Dreamfinder and Figment? Do you fit into the family that includes Goofy and Pluto and Mickey and Snow White and Cinderella, or are you truly apart? Are you the future?
No, I'm part of the same spirit, actually. I'm more of the original spirit. The same thing that led to them created me. And as I was there when they were created.
Then let me say thank you to all 3 of you. Barry Braverman for giving us these 2, for Dreamfinder, and for Figment. Figment, take care of yourself, will you? I assume he's got something to say at some point. In keeping with the Disney ideal, you need no passport to travel from country to country in the World Showcase, so let us travel now on a brief trip to Japan.
In Japan, a performer who practices an art form that's 2,000 years old. He makes sculptures out of candy. The Today Show will be back after these messages.
Jane's just hit me with some good news. We have a delivery from France.
Yes, we have breakfast delivered straight from France down the street. It'll be here anytime.
Pastries?
A little brioche.
I can see Willard swimming his way across right now.
Maybe some croissants.
We're going to step aside for when we come back at 8 o'clock. We'll get the latest news and then look at the politics of Disney. There are some people here who actually don't want Epcot. All after a station break.